Former Transport Minister Iswaran has been sentenced to 12 months in jail after pleading guilty to 4 amended charges under Section 165 of Singapore's Penal Code and 1 charge of obstructing the course of justice under Section 204A of the Penal Code. Previously, the prosecution sought a jail term of 6 to 7 months, while the defence requested that Iswaran's aggregate sentence not exceed 8 weeks. Iswaran admitted to accepting valuable gifts from prominent businessmen, including Ong Beng Seng, chairman of Singapore GP, and David Lum Kok Seng, managing director of Lum Chang Holdings, while holding public office. These gifts, which included private flights and other benefits, were worth over 400,000 Singapore dollars in total. The 35 charges against Iswaran were amended by the prosecution on 24 September 2024, from corruption to lesser offences under Section 165, which pertains to public servants receiving valuable items in connection with their official duties. The court also took into account Iswaran's admission of obstructing the course of justice, for which he had repaid over 5,000 Singapore dollars to Singapore GP for a business-class flight he had taken at Ong's expense. The remaining 30 charges were taken into account during sentencing. Iswaran's defence team argued that his guilty plea followed the amendment of the charges and suggested that this change altered the complexion of the case. However, Justice Vincent Hung, in delivering his judgment on Thursday, rejected this argument, noting that Iswaran had consistently denied the charges and only pleaded guilty after the amendments were made. The court ruled that his decision to plead guilty did not demonstrate sufficient remorse, particularly given his earlier public statements professing innocence. The judge also dismissed several of the defence's mitigating arguments. Among them was the claim that Ong, the businessman who had offered Iswaran private jet travel and other benefits, would have incurred the costs regardless of Iswaran's involvement. Justice Hung ruled that the central issue was Iswaran's acceptance of these benefits, while knowing that Ong had business interests connected to Iswaran's official role as minister and chairman of the Formula One steering committee. This, the judge said, compromised the integrity of public office. The court further rejected the argument that Iswaran's public service and contributions to Singapore should weigh in his favor during sentencing. Justice Hung described these as neutral factors in this context, emphasizing the importance of general deterrence in cases involving high-ranking officials. Holders of high office set the tone for public servants and must be expected to avoid any perception of influence by pecuniary benefits, the judge said. Iswaran had pleaded guilty to obtaining gifts such as a private flight to Doha from Ong, taken while on urgent personal leave. Although Iswaran's lawyers argued that the absence of financial detriment to Ong should mitigate his culpability, the court rejected this. Justice Hung stated that the focus should remain on the harm caused to public institutions and the need for general deterrence. Furthermore, the defence's claim that Iswaran had distributed the F1 tickets he received to friends and family, rather than selling them, was also rejected. The judge ruled that the improper use of these tickets, which Iswaran had obtained by virtue of his official connection to Ong, was damaging to the integrity of public office. Justice Hung emphasized that general deterrence remained a central consideration in the sentencing of public servants who commit such offences. The lack of prevalence of such offences may be a sign of healthy governance processes, but it cannot detract from the court's responsibility to signal their disapproval of such conduct, he said. Iswaran had originally faced 35 charges, including 2 counts of corruption. The charges were amended from 2 counts of corruption under the Prevention of Corruption Act to offences under Section 165, which covers public servants who receive valuable gifts in connection with their official duties. This section, unlike Section 8 of the PCA, does not include a presumption of corruption, which would have placed the burden on the accused to prove the gifts were not given as inducements. The Attorney General's chambers cited litigation risks in proving the original corruption charges as a reason for amending them, but did not suggest that the case itself lacked merit.